Hi there, welcome to How to Make Trance number 2. So this is a video where I produce a trance track using Ableton Live, VST plugins and free samples. I guess you want to hear an example on what to expect. It's going to play from the main breakdown and go into the build-up. It's about 1 minute. In this video we are going to do melody creation, arrangement, we are going to work on the breakdown. I'm also going to talk a little bit about using reference tracks and show you how I do that. The project itself uses commercial VST plugins, so you need to have those to play back the project in real time. However, there will be a frozen version available, so if you don't have these plugins, you will be able to play this project back in Ableton Live, and you can also unfreeze the tracks and replace it with maybe another synthesizer, so that should work just fine. As for EQ and mastering plugins, I use what's included in Ableton Live, and that it's perfectly fine for this project. If you find this video interesting, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel if you are new around here. You will find the download link to the project in the description below this video. So let's jump into Ableton Live and start working on that melody. What you are seeing in front of you now is something called cthulhu. This is basically a tool that allows you to experiment with different chords. Software itself have many different presets here. It also has a built-in arpeggiator, which is nice. So what you do is that you take cthulhu, you send the MIDI data to a synthesizer, which in this case is operator, but this could also be, for example, Serum or Diva or any other synth, or maybe even a hardware synthesizer. You set the cthulhu track as record, and then you just select something here. Let's try this, and you play on your keyboard, or you type in the notes here in the piano roll. So let's try play something. Something like that, maybe. First, we can make a MIDI clip here. And let's say I want to use this one. We can then loop it. Okay, and then we can listen, see if we find something else interesting here. Maybe that one. Maybe try something like that. Then we can go back there again and try to make this a long thing. Oops. Okay, so the point is to just to try to make a basic melody, and then now we are going to maybe try to change the arpeggio and then record it to a MIDI file where we can also do some changes afterwards. The track where we have Diva here, it's on record, and it's just a matter of pressing record here. But I think I want to see if we can do something on with the arpeggio. You could always change these afterwards. Okay, so some changes to the arpeggio, and then just record this into a new MIDI track here. Just press record. So what we can do now then is we can delete the layer here. We have the MIDI clip here. We can resize it so it fits the beats here, and then consolidate. You do that by pressing Ctrl J. So now we have a MIDI clip here with some notes, and we can play it back without having to use the Cthulhu plugin again. We can open another synthesizer here, just for the fun of it, load up some presets. Yeah, just have some fun, go into reveal sound, open up Spire, just take some type of trance lead here. So how does 3 of these sound? So the point here is just to create something you can build upon. I'm not saying that we are going to use this particular melody. What we can do now is we can go into the melody and we can change some parts, maybe try to change it more to our liking. And in that way we are also owning the melody more, because you are doing changes to it and you are creating the kind of melody you want for your track. So I think that's what we are going to do next. I want to give it a little bit more flow to it. So it's not all over the place, it's just a nice flow. Maybe something like that. And maybe take that one up a little bit. So there can be a lot of trial and error when you're trying out different melodies. But again, I could probably sit for 2 or 3 hours and just tweak and adjust it a little bit, and maybe I will do that off camera as well. We will see. I think you get the general idea. I think we have something to work from. Let's go to the next part. So since the last cut in the melody creation, there has gone at least 1 day, and I think at least 2 or 3 hours of more work on the melody. The melody that was created from Cthulhu was only a bass line, something to work from. I think I have gotten to the point where I want to have the melody. As I said, I used about I think 2 or 3 hours just changing the melody up and down and see what works and what doesn't work. And I don't think any of you watching this video that you are actually interested to sit down in 3 hours watching just the melody part. If I had to do that, these type of videos would be like 10 hours long, so I don't think that's viable. Let's just go back into Ableton Live and take a look where the melody is right now. Here is the one you have heard in the last cut, but I haven't done some mixing changes to it, so you can just take a listen to it here. This is the unedited one. So this was the melody, kind of the melody I started off with, and here are the changes. Here are the notes, and yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. I have changed up the melody a little bit, make it sound a little bit more alive and not static, but also not trying to make it too jumpy as well. So I have a few notes here in the lower regions just to kind of try to surprise you a little bit. Let's just take a listen to the build up here and see where it stands now. So that's the melody part of the track. I think I've gotten it to a point where I am ready to move on to something else. I have 5 different synth layers, and I thought I could just go through some of them now and show you a little bit why I have 5 different layers here. What's the point of that? The first layer here is played by Diva. It's supposed to be more in the high end of the audio spectrum for the melody at least. So you have the high end there, and as you can see on the EQ here, I have taken off the low end as well. The next track we also have Diva. It's also more in the high end, more towards the mid, I think. We have mid, high end. They of course they overlap a little bit. Together they sound like this. I have also done some changes to the patches on the synthesizers, but I don't really remember what I did, so I can't really show you that. And then I have Serum here. This is more on the lower mids and more around the bass. And we have another Serum here. it's the same. It's supposed to be a lower end. And when you buy an expensive hardware Moog synthesizer, you always try to find some place in it in your tracks, and I have found a place for it in this track. So I'm using the Moog. It's a patch that came with the synthesizer, but I have done quite a lot of adjustments to it, and I don't really remember what I did because I saved it, and it was late and I was tired, and yeah. So this is the Moog. A little more rhythmic there, and if we add some more low end here. That's the whole idea of using these layers to make this sound more full. On each melody track I also have a MIDI effect plugin that sits before the actual VST, and that's under MIDI effects, velocity, and add some random. I just place that before the instruments on each track here. It will do some adjustments to the velocity on the MIDI input here, so it doesn't feel that static. In this template I think I am going to use Serum and Diva when I publish it online, so you need to have Serum or the synthesizers I have to play it back, but I will freeze the tracks so you can listen to the track without having access to the instruments, so you can replace them with other instruments if you will, or you can use the freezed track. So that's enough about a melody. Now I want to talk about how I am going to structure this track. If you noticed in the Ableton Live window here on the bottom here, I have a long audio file called reference. That is a reference track, and I'm going to explain a little bit why I have it there. But first, what is a reference track? Well, the reference track is a song close to the type of genre of music you want to create. So what you basically do is that you take a track you really like that is professionally produced, popular, and is in, as I said, in the genre you're going to produce. Take it into your music production software. We are going to do two things with this reference track. First, we are going to structure our song, decide where we're going to have the intro, main part, outro, and so on. And we are also going to use the reference track to try to get the level balance in check, so the mix sound as good as possible, and that is a good way of using a reference track. So we can go into Ableton Live again here, and I have loaded up a reference track here, and you can see the waveform in the bottom here. So in a trance track we want a intro. When your mouse pointer changes to a speaker, we can just right click here and select add locator, and I will type intro. So we don't want the intro to be that much more than 1 minute. So after 1 minute here, we want to bring in something else. So what do we want to bring in after the intro on a trance track? Well, I think we want to add the full groove here, a single note melody. We can call it that. So we have intro at 0 to 1 minute, and from 1 minute we have a full groove with a single note melody, and I can also see that here in the reference track below. It's basically the same here. I can't play the reference track because of copyright reasons. And here, after about 1 minute, we have the breakdown, so we can add a locator and call it breakdown, and we will let the breakdown go on for, we can have the breakdown go here, we can start the build up here, build up here, start it, build up full here, and we can maybe have the climax around here. Again, this is not a rule. Outro and variation. So the point of using the reference track here now is to give us some pointers on where we can bring in certain parts in our song, and this will also make it easier to continue producing the track, because it's very easy to fall into this loop mentality where you have made this great loop, like something like this. and you just keep looping it, and you don't know where to go from here. So I think doing it like this makes it more visual. I hope you understand that this doesn't mean that you should do it exactly this way, but this is a great way to start, so you get the track structure done, and then when the track is in a sense more or less done, you can try to break up some parts, and you can do changes to it and make it your own. So after a good night's sleep, it was time to do some work on the intro. I think I got it to a point where I want to show it off. We can just take a quick preview on what I have done here, so you know what we are up against. So that's basically where we are now. You can see also that I am in the automation window in Ableton Live. To go back to the standard window, you just press A, the automation lines disappear. But I have a lot of automations in this intro, but we can first go over the sample selection and what kind of synthesizers I've been using. We need a kick, and since I am going to have this template available for free, I want to use samples that are free of use. So I've been using samples from High Life Samples, and there are links in the description below for those drums. In a trance track, we need to start off with a kick, and I found this kick, and it sounds like this. And originally, without any effects, it sounded like this. But with effects, I made it sound like this. So what I did is I took an EQ on the kick, and I removed pretty much everything around 1.5K, and I added a glue compressor to try to tighten up the kick drum a little bit more. I think it sounds pretty good. And then I have 3 different synth layers. All of these are bass related. So the first one here is this synth bass, where I automate the EQ in Ableton Live, like so. And it comes in at full force around here. So you get that bass, you know. And this synth bass is played by Spire. Then we have another layer. It's basically the same, and it's massive. It's just another type of bass-ish type of sound. So it's to make it sound more full, you know. So then I have another layer from a Serum synthesizer, where I basically took a square wave and added effects on it. So it sounds like this. So if I remove the effects, it's just a basic wave, but adding these effects gives it just a little bit more dimension, as it says here in Serum. So with all of the bass, you get this cool sound. And with the kick, you get this. And I did change some notes here. Here the notes looks like this. And underneath I made a little variation, so it's not the same type of notes as the synth bass here. Just to give it a little more rhythm. And on the Serum layer here, I wanted the notes to be more all in, because they don't play that much in the lower frequency spectrum, so I think that's fine. And you know, I just made some of the notes here longer, because it just gives this little groove, you know, if you listen to it here. I think we can actually take that one there. So yeah, it's just small things like this that kind of makes it interesting. Doesn't have to be that much. Found this sample, Hats and Claps, again from High Life Samples. All the kick and the bass and the samples sounds like this. And I have no side chaining or anything yet. In addition to the bass, I wanted this part to play a part of the melody, but just some single notes. So I took this melody and made some small changes to it. Like this. And also automated the cutoff a little bit around here. And then I bring in some more synths here as this progresses. And here I also kind of made some change as well here. So everything together. So now I think we are ready for the breakdown. I guess you can see that I have worked some more on the track. We're going to take a look at the breakdown now. I'm going to play it back for you. So if you don't want to listen to it, just jump ahead about 1 minute. And a boom kick or reverb kick, and the main melody goes. And as you can see here, I have made the climax part here, but we are talking about the breakdown today. So what I have basically done here is, after the intro here, it goes into this short little, I'm not sure what to call it, but it's kind of a little build up to the actual breakdown. And we have the breakdown here, actually. And the breakdown is actually made out from the melody here. So I took these notes down here and I made some chords out of them. But I did some changes here to some of the note placements, just to make it sound a little bit different. So that's basically the pads here. They are played with 2 synths, Diva, a patch that comes with Diva, and then I have another layer here using Diva playing the breakdown. And under here I have just a basic Serum instance playing a drone type of sound like this. In addition to that, we have some effects. Many of these effects are from this free sample pack. Things like this. And yeah, noises, downlifters, effects, and just to try to give it that dreamy, trancey feel. And I have some simple pianos going in here as well. You always need some pianos in trance. Again, there's nothing really special with the pianos. It's basically the chords from the pads, but I have changed them up a little bit just to try to keep a little kind of flow to it here. And then it's just about trying to add some effects. Here I have some effects from Massive. I'm not sure what to call it. It's kind of some bird-ish type of atmospheric sound. Like so. Just to try to make it a little bit more interesting, and when the breakdown is finished here, we get to introduce the main melody. And I have started working on that there now, and it builds up to this climax here. I have no sidechain or anything on this quite yet. But that's basically the main melody after the breakdown. And when the main melody is finished, we go back into this full groove here. That's basically the simple basics of a trance track. So what's left for me to do now is I want to add some more effects, some more drums, do some better mixing, probably going to do some of that off camera. But as I said earlier, using the reference track is a good way of checking if your levels are correct and if your mix is sounding as it should as a professional track. So I've been working on the track off camera. I've been color coding the tracks and naming the tracks so they are easier to identify. In my view, the track is more or less finished now, so I thought we could just go through some of the things I have done since the last time I was recording this video. So I've been color coding all of the drum tracks red, and I will move them on the top as I usually do. The kick, hats loop, crash, noise and things like that. I always color them red and move them on the top. And I have also made a copy of the kick. I called it sidechain, and it should be muted. And it goes into a lot of the compressors down here at the leads. So we are sidechaining the leads. I have made a recording from the Moog Subsequent 37 CV, and it's here in the track. And you of course get that recording with this free template as well. And if we press A, we open up the automation lane here. In the lead part here, I have done quite a lot of automation to try to make this part a little bit more interesting for the listener. And I usually go into the synthesizer, in this case, let's say a Diva here, just play around with the patch. And I play around with different controls, and if I find something that is interesting, let's say except the usual cutoff and resonance, I try to automate it in the track here. Here I only have frequency, but I also have the resonance here. And on lead 2, which is played by Diva, I also have automated the FM here. So it's this one. Oops. It just changes the characteristics of the sound over time, and it helps make the lead part not a little more interesting and a little less boring. On Serum here, I have automated the distortion under effects here. I'm automating the drive knob here. Along with the cutoff. And I do the same here on some more synthesizers. I automate let's say some unusual parameters. If you add all of these together, you get this kind of full sound, if you wish, here on the main part. You can kind of hear that the audio moves a little bit instead of being completely static. I've done the same on my 3 different bass tracks here. I will also automated some, let's say, just some unusual parameters instead of the regular cutoff and the resonance. I have also used the reference track and referenced the audio levels, and I have tried to balance my mix using that reference tracks, meaning that I try to keep the kick at the same level, the bass at the same level, at least in the ballpark-ish, and also the leads, and try to blend everything together so it sounds as professional as possible. Another thing I did with the pads from Diva here, I added some saturation. I used the stock plugin in Ableton Live, it's Warm Up Lows. Just gives it a little bit more low end, and since they are basically playing alone here in this part, I don't have any EQ taking off the bass or anything, it's just full on everything. So in this track I use commercial VST plugins, but I still want to make the project as easy as possible for people to use. So as for effects and reverb and things like that, I use the stock plugins in Ableton Live, and that's the same here at the master section. You can have a listen to the master section now. If I turn it off and play, and we can turn it on again. Off. So, fun fact, this is the master section I am also using in the previous How to Make a Trance track #1. I didn't show that in the video. Well, here it is. So what I have here is I have something called warm-up highs. This is a saturator, and then we have enhance. It makes it a little bit more brighter in the high end. And then I have used a glue compressor preset that comes with Ableton Live, and it's called Mastering Catch Peaks, but I don't make it work that much. As you can see, if you look at the meter here, it's probably around 2-3 dB max. Just a little bit, just to squish it a little bit, not too much. Then I have multiband compression here, just some basic settings, nothing special here, but I have dialed back the amount a little bit to 58%. And on the end here we have a limiter to increase the volume, and I always try to not get over 3 dB here in Ableton Live's limiter, because then it's going to sound really bad. So we can keep it there. Just for the fun of it, I'm not going to include this plugin in this template, but I usually use FabFilter. I bought this plugin a few years ago, And I use it just to kind of see the, just going to move it here so you see my beautiful face, just to see the waveform and see how it looks. So the volume level looks okay. So yeah, I think here you have the track. It's in my opinion, it's ready for you guys. We have an intro, we have a full groove, we have a mini break, we have a breakdown with some beautiful diva pads, and we have the classic plucked trance build up here, and we go into the climax melody here. And some a little calmer parts around here. Some piano again. And we go into the full groove. And we are done. So that's it. So there you have it, guys. I hope you liked this little trance track creation session, and if you watched to the end, I really appreciate it. Download the Ableton project for free using the links below this video, and I hope you learned something today. You know what's coming now. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and yes, it really helps if you do so. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, type them down in the comments below. If not, take care. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.